What's up, my fellow football fans? I want to talk about Italy versus Spain. It was the first semifinal of the European Championship, and it was a good match. It wasn't the best of matches. It wasn't a fantastic match. It was no, Spain Croatia or even France versus Switzerland, but it was a good match nevertheless. Um, even before the game started. There was a lot to talk about. In fact, I did a video about the lineups. Luis Enrique surprised us all with some very interesting changes. I mean, Italy, Mancini really pretty much he went with his regular side, his standard side. There was only one change, and that change was had been highly anticipated. Spinazzola snapped his Achilles tendon, so he was always going to be replaced, and Emerson was just the most logical option. He's the backup left back in the squad. So left Emerson came in for Spinazzola, but in Luis Enrique's side, well, first of all, there was in the center of the defense, Eric Garcia came in for Pau Torres again. That was a little bit odd. It seemed that Luis Enrique couldn't really decide if he wanted Pau Torres, if he wanted or if you wanted Eric Garcia next to Emerick Laporte. But really the big thing is that he put after the whole ordeal of betting on Morata, and everybody was criticizing his decision to keep playing Morata as number 9, to leave Jerry Moreno on the bench. He didn't even call up players like Iago Aspas, who had been prolific goal scorers throughout the season. He didn't even call Iago Aspas into the team. And now, when Morata had finally won the public opinion, let's put it that way, especially after that beautiful goal against Croatia, beautiful and decisive goal against Croatia, Luis Enrique decides to drop him. He also and he makes actually 2 changes, and he decides not to play with the number 9 at all. Also, Jerry Moreno stays on the bench, and he starts the game with Oyarzabal, Dani Olmo, and Ferran Torres. So it's a weird decision to go without a number 9 when he had been playing with a number 9 throughout the tournament. Also, not play Morata. It was a weird decision from the get-go. I can only people have been speculating that he was worried that Chiellini and Bonucci, they're used to playing with Morata. They would kind of like bully him because they know his weaknesses and they know him perhaps a little bit too well. So Luis Enrique tried a different approach, also tried to surprise the Italians with more of a sort of a false nine approach. And that worked to some extent. One problem that Italy had in this game, and that was a problem that I sort of anticipated, not that I called it before the game, but one of my big questions was, this Italy team under Mancini, the big thing is they don't play like your traditional Italian team. What they do is they do seek the possession. They seek to play a little bit like Spain plays, So that's what Mancini has built his team. That's the style of his team. But my question was, going into the match, what if they don't have the possession? What if Spain is better at being Spain than Italy is at being Spain, right? What if Spain actually takes possession away from them and Italy can't use their possession-based game? How are they going to react? And the answer, we did get the answer, because Italy, they hardly saw the ball. Spain had 70%, 71%, I believe, of possession. So they really completely dominated possession, just like they had against all the other teams, which in fact is one of Spain's biggest qualities. But the problem for Italy was that they just weren't seeing the ball, and they didn't look like themselves, like we had seen them throughout the tournament. But also they were playing against a much better team than most of their opponents, except perhaps for Belgium. But so they were always they were not very at ease, and they certainly didn't play that beautiful football that Italy, I never thought I would say that, but that Italy has accustomed us to. However, Spain did have the recurrent mistake of using too much possession. You can have too much possession. We've seen it again and again. Sometimes it's not a problem. Sometimes you eventually find your goals. You eventually find your opportunities, and that usually happens. You know, we saw it when Spain played against Slovakia, for example. That usually happens when you're playing a weaker team. Against Italy, most of their possession was clearly sterile. They weren't really able to break through a tough Italian defense, a solid formation. And most of the time, they were just like passing the ball horizontally for the most part. And they really weren't breaking through. They were having the possession continuously, but without that many opportunities. Italy, on the other hand, even though they didn't feel super ease, clearly, even though they didn't play amazing football, they were trying to make something happen. Every time they had the ball, we saw a little bit more intention. And in fact, and that we could see that specifically with Federico Chiesa, who was absolutely fantastic. He was, in fact, Chiesa, I think, even though he didn't start the tournament as one of Italy's starting players. I mean, he had to kind of like wrestle that starting position from Berardi on the right, mostly of Italy's attacking trident. He's certainly become their MVP in this tournament, I believe. I mean, you could say Jorginho because he controls the midfield. Um, you could even say, I guess, Donnarumma or Insigne. But in my opinion, Federico Chiesa has really been the differential, and especially in these tough matches. And and against Spain, we saw it again. He brings in the sort of like speed and quality and intensity and technique that we don't really see from a lot of the other players. You know, Immobile has been largely disappointing throughout the tournament for Italy. We've seen that quality from Insigne at times, but I think it has been a little bit more consistent with Chiesa. He's always been a problem for, you know, every time he's on the pitch, he's a problem for the opponents, for the opponent's defense. And the goal comes from him. Beautiful goal, by the way, by Chiesa. And I think it's not an exaggeration to say that he was the MVP in this game. He was the most valuable player. Now, in comes the tale of sort of like the two faces of Morata. And we've seen this again and again and again, not just in this tournament, but throughout his career, unfortunately. But there's a good side to Morata. There's certainly a good side to Morata. I think he's a good player for the most part. You know, I support Juventus, and I like him at Juventus. You know, I think that's where he's played his best football, and he does score goals, and he does have technique. He has a certain, you know, presence to him. He has size, physical size. So I mean, there are certainly good qualities to Morata, and we saw that in the goal. You know, Morata comes in, Spain is a little bit more dangerous. They're looking a little bit more dangerous with the number 9. And in fact, Morata he gets a pretty good goal against Italy. And you look at Morata at that point, you know, Morata is the big hero. You know, it's Morata comes to the rescue. And it's looking very good for Spain because they seize the momentum. They are controlling the game. They are a lot more dangerous than Italy. And Morata is confident. He's already scored 1 goal. But unfortunately for Spain, it doesn't really go anywhere. And especially going to the extra time. Again, I don't know if they were a little bit more tired. I don't know if they were afraid to concede a goal, but I don't know what it was exactly. But again, you know, the extra time was kind of a bore. There weren't really that many opportunities, and Spain again fell into this sterile possession game. Italy was basically playing counter-attacking football without really the counterattacks. You know, they were mostly just defending. And it goes to the penalty kicks, and then it's a 50-50. We saw Chiellini kind of like get into Jordi Alba's head when they were choosing like the size and who was going to take the penalty kicks first. Giorgio Chiellini, you know, mythical defender. He knows everything about the game. But really the big thing, the big moment ends up being Morata missing the penalty. Morata misses the penalty, and that allows Jorginho to step in and to score the decisive goal. And put Italy through to the final. And, again, I mean, Morata is always, he's always at the center of attention. Sometimes it's for good and sometimes it's for bad. And it seems that there's a little bit of a fragility, mental fragility to him. He's and I don't want to be too critical of him. Again, I think there's a lot of good qualities to him. He's not, in my opinion, a world-class number 9. He's not a world-class player that can give you titles like the European Championship. And I think, unfortunately, that was proved again today, with him missing that penalty kick at a moment that, he really couldn't miss. There was no second chance. So, and that's the tale of two faces for Morata, the tale of the two Moratas. In any case, good for Italy, not so good for Spain. And they're through to the finals. They'll play England or Denmark in Wembley. Tomorrow we're going to see England playing Denmark. That should be a great game. I think, England are overwhelming favorites, much more talented team. They have the momentum on their side. They're going to play at home in front of tens of thousands of people, supporting them. And as good as Denmark are and as motivated as they are, I just think I think England is going to be too much. Now, in the final, I also think England is going to be too much for this Italy side. I think this is a great side. I think Mancini has done a absolutely fantastic job with what he has at his disposal. But the key here is that what he has at his disposal is a little bit limited. And we saw that against Spain. We saw that even before that against Belgium. One thing is facing inferior teams. Another thing is facing the top teams in the continent, teams like Belgium, like Spain, like England. And I think there you can see a little bit more Italy's limitations in terms of individual quality. And Chiesa is rising up to the challenge, and Insigne has had his moments, but still, it might not be quite as much. It might not be enough, considering all the talent that England has at its disposal. Coming from the Premier League, all these big stars and the way they're playing, which is very well. They're playing very well right now. So I think it might be a little bit too much for Italy, especially if the game goes again into the extra time, when you get all these replacements, these substitutes, and you see like the depth of the roster. I think Italy doesn't really have the same depth that England has, and or even like Spain has. Spain, we saw that in the extra time, Italy was just looking tired and uninspired, and really the substitutes don't really have the quality that the starters have. I mean, Spain could bring in really quality players. More in this case, I mean, even Morata, Jer Moreno, who arguably should probably have been starting in the first place. I mean, but they're bringing in like world class, some world class players, some very quality players with a lot of quality. And Italy doesn't really have that depth on the bench, and England certainly has. So that might be a problem for Italy. In any case, I'm looking forward to seeing the game tomorrow, and of course the big final. All right, thanks a lot, guys.